me. Please, wait. Excuse me. Can you hear a loud buzzing noise?
Buzzing? I can hear explosions. That's Napoleon shelling the city. You heard of Napoleon?
You ought to take cover, mate.
Louder and louder, like a million bees. God, make it stop. I don't want this to go on any longer. God damn you, Bonaparte.
Quite an ordeal, but not entirely unexpected. Napoleon Bonaparte has been breaking Herr Beethoven's heart for quite a long time now. It started in 1804. Sir! Herr Beethoven!
Jesus, Ries!
Sir, I've just come from Kramer's. There's some news from France.
There's no need to shout. What's the matter?
I'm sorry, sir. Sir, Napoleon has declared himself emperor.
Vivat imperator in eterno.
Vivat imperator! Vivat! Vivat!
I swear to maintain freedom of religion, equality of rights, and political and civil liberty. Hogwash! And to govern in the sole interest, happiness, and glory of the French people. In the sole interest, happiness, and glory of Napoleon, more like.
God save our thrice glorious and thrice august Emperor Napoleon.
Long live the emperor! Then Napoleon places a crown on the head of his beautiful wife, the Empress Josephine.
For Bonaparte. So he's only a man after all. No, not just a man, a tyrant. If we are to have rulers, they must be selfless. Oh, how could you do it? Well, we will have to be the heroes now.
Good for you, Ludwig. Always remember, my son, without suffering there is no struggle.
Without struggle, there's no victory.
Without victory, no crown.
Thank you, Mutti. Ries, put more wood on the fire, will you? It's freezing in here.
You're getting very low on logs.
Oh, you're right. It is nearly my birthday. I always know when that comes around, it's time to start stuffing that filthy rag, the Wiener Zeitung, down my breeches. Best place for it. And its fatuous reviewers. Why didn't you tell me we were so low on logs?
Herr Beethoven worries a great deal about money. He makes a note of every penny he spends.
We composers don't get royalties, you know. We sell our work to a publisher. For a pittance. Guten Tag. I've brought you the new piano concerto. 100 guilders.
Beethoven bitter. I be taking the bread from the mouths of my wife and children. 45.
But it's a wonderful piece. No, that's out of the question.
50 then. I'm cutting my own throat here. Concertos don't sell nearly as well as sonatas.
Well, they're a lot harder to write. 70.
53.
Come on, Ries, we're leaving.
58. That's my final offer.
I bet you don't treat Haydn like this.
I thought you handled that very well, sir.
Old Ludwig is still in love a lot of the time.
And the young women he likes best are still his piano students.
They're generally very musical.
And they take an intelligent interest in his work. 3 years ago, it was Julie.
Herr Beethoven, my mother tells me that you're refusing to accept any payment.
That's what he does if he fancies them. It hurt his pride if their parents tried to give him money.
What's that, Liebling? Payment? No. Only in linen. And as long as you have sewn it.
Sewing? What a pain in the bum. Giulietta Guicciardi, generally known as Julie, 17 years old, a countess. Herr Beethoven may be about to propose to her. He's terribly shabby and ugly as well, though he is very noble and sensitive, of course. In Austria, there is a law that if a woman of the nobility marries a commoner, her children can't inherit a title. What's a young woman to do?
In 1802, Beethoven dedicated the so-called Moonlight Sonata to Julie.
The following year, she married a count.
So ein schönes Mädchen.
Two years later, Ludwig is still giving piano lessons to the well-stacked posh girl.
My very own Josephine. A woman truly fit for a hero. When she takes the air under the chestnut trees of the Prater, passers-by stop to stare at her.
Beautiful as an angel.
By now, she's the mother of 4 young children, but she's also just become a widow.
And she's very keen on her piano lessons. She has lots of them, every day.
Beloved,
It's your birthday tomorrow, isn't it? And there's a reception at Prince Lichnowsky's. I hope you'll be there.
I can't go to parties. A bad chest.
Dear Beethoven, you ought to take more care of yourself. You're very precious.
Thank you. Please, speak louder. Please speak louder. Speak louder. Shout! How can I go to parties?
Sadly, his hearing's no better.
And as for Josephine, she's a looker, no doubt about it. But she's from the nobility too. And if she married Ludwig, he couldn't be the legal guardian of her children.
Love life, not good. But the music, oh, that is sublime. In the spring of 1805, Herr Beethoven's Third Symphony,
Nowadays called the Eroica,
has its first public performance at the Theatre an der Wien.
Too long!
Too difficult.
Difficult is good. This is the greatest work I have ever written.
And within a couple of years, the whole world is agreeing with him.
The Eroica changes the way we think about symphonies. Heaven and earth will tremble whenever it is played.
Your fingering is good. Please don't stop. And the notes are right, most of the time. What is vital is that you play with passion. Do you think you can manage that?
I don't know.
I'm sorry?
I'll try.
Josephine, you're my everything. You know that, don't you? It isn't lust. Please don't think that. It's just you. You. My all. My happiness. Oh, why can't I say it in music?
Ludwig, I love you as one gentle soul loves another. I can't cope with other forms of love, not at the moment.
Meanwhile, Britain and Russia are getting together to stand up to Boney.
And after a few months, Austria throws her hat in the ring.
October 1805. Boney thinks he can draw his enemy's fire by taking a swipe at Britain's Caribbean colonies.
But the French fleet doesn't get much further than Cape Trafalgar.
I do not say, my lords, that the French will not come. I say only that they will not come by sea.
Not to worry, Napoleon's Plan B is much more doable.
And while Boney's troops are advancing into Austria, Ludwig is having a few problems of his own.
I'm sorry. There's nothing more I can give you. I can't find my cloak. Shall I fetch Herr Ries? Herr Ries?
He's away. I really don't know. Bonnie's in France now. If the French take Vienna, he might get called up.
He'd have to fight against Austrians.
Well, technically, he's a French citizen.
Oh dear. Everybody is leaving. The streets are jammed.
Everybody who can afford to is leaving. The Emperor, the knobs.
A maid tells me they're cramming everything they own into carts and carriages. Shoe trees, Pomeranians, chamber pots. I've been thinking I might go away for a while. Only to Budapest.
Where?
Budapest?
Bucharest?
Budapest. Just while the French are here.
What will you do if they stay forever?
Please don't tear my heart apart. You mustn't try to persuade me.
Oh, my heart can only stop beating for you when it stops beating. Oh, damn you!
Don't they look gorgeous?
In November 1805, Napoleon takes Vienna without a shot being fired.
I love a parade.
15,000 French troops march into the city. Once they're billeted, it becomes strangely quiet. Most of the shops are shut, and the taverns. The streets are deserted.
But a week later, the Theatre an der Wien reopens its doors for a special occasion. Ludwig's first and only opera is having its premiere. Fidelio tells the story of a freedom fighter clapped into jail for his political beliefs.
But the theatre is almost empty. Pretty well the only people in there are a handful of drunken French soldiers.
That freedom fighter's wife is a star!
She stays loyal to her man. She even risks her life to save him. O freedom, when will you return?
Never, I imagine.
Karl Eloise, Prince Lichnowsky, is a tremendous connoisseur of music. Not a bad player himself. Thank you. And one of the foremost patrons of the arts in Vienna. 20 years ago, he was Mozart's lodge brother and loyal supporter. Now, he puts a great deal of time and effort into promoting the works of Beethoven. Time, effort, and money. Since 1800, he's been paying the composer an annual stipend of 600 florins, which is quite a lot.
Not half as much as it used to be. Since Napoleon invaded, inflation has been through the roof. Macaroni and no cheese.
Last November, Lichnowsky stayed put in the city when the rest of his fellow aristos are racing for the gates.
So he was one of the few people who actually heard the premiere of Fidelio, which wasn't a total success, obviously. Herr Beethoven immediately starts rewriting the piece. There's an all-night session at the Lichnowsky Palace.
More candles, and bring us some wine.
Any more pastries?
Ludwig, please!
I will not make any cuts!
Beethoven, you must see reason.
Not a single note! This section is fundamental! Can't you understand that? Oh, why do I have to live among idiots?
Princess Lichnowsky, the sickly wife of Beethoven's patron, flings herself at the maestro's feet. "Dear Beethoven," she pleads, "this could be your greatest work. Do it for me. Do it in memory of your mother."
Very well then. For both of you. All of them. I'll make all the changes you want.
By the by, Ludwig, your song, To Hope, is it true that it's dedicated to Countess Josephine?
She was my pupil.
But there isn't any more intimate connection between you?
No. My hope does not lie in that direction. Not in the slightest.
Good.
Meanwhile, in another part of the Habsburg Empire,
Boney meets the combined forces of Austria and Russia at the Battle of Austerlitz. It's December 1805. Boney has 68,000 troops.
the Austrians and Russians have 90,000.
Boney wipes the floor with them.
Brilliant strategy, I have to admit.
Now Austria's been forced to sign a very humiliating peace treaty with the French, and Napoleon's left a local garrison in charge of Vienna.
The Emperor and the Nobs have crept out of their hidey holes.
And the streets of the city are filling up again.
Lights, colour, music. People have been shut up in their houses for weeks.
They're desperate for entertainment.
And we've secured a date for the new production of Fidelio! March the 29th.
Herr Beethoven! This is too much! Herr Beethoven, stop! Now, for Christ's sake, we've got water pouring through our ceiling.
Excellent reviews. That'll be all, thank you. Look, at least he's clean. Tickets for the April performance are selling well too. Very well. The Theatre and of Wien is on the up again.
figures can't possibly be right.
Herr Beethoven.
Hell's teeth! I'm beset by swindlers on every side.
Herr Beethoven, the arrangement I gave you was quite unprecedented. A share of the box office. It's unheard of.
So where's my money? If the house was full, it has to be more than this. Oh, cheats and scoundrels. Vienna's packed with them.
Herr Beethoven, the stalls were full, but the galleries were more than half empty.
I don't write music for the masses.
What happened to the Brotherhood, man?
But we need the masses. Mozart used to fill the galleries.
Fetch me the score. Go on, now.
If I'd given Mozart a share of the box office, he'd have been a very wealthy man. The masses loved him.
So that's the last we'll hear of Fidelio for the next 10 years. 2 performances.
Poor Herr Beethoven. No Josephine.
Box office disaster.
My health is atrocious.
But even so, 1806 is an amazingly prolific year for Beethoven.
In spite of the row.
In spite of the fact that my idiot brother Carl is about to marry a contemptible tramp. The other brother's just as bad. Always honour me about some money he claims I owe him. The row is actually quite stimulating.
This is a new row. At the end of August, Herr Beethoven is invited to stay with Prince Lichnowsky at his castle near Gretz.
I'm beginning to be quite fond of the old sod.
That castle is a huge place. Hundreds of rooms, thousands of chairs, gilded double doors leading to more gilded double doors.
Ludwig spends most of his time in the grounds, charging about among the silver birches.
His mind is on fire.
Ludwig.
Absolutely not.
I beg your pardon?
If you're thinking of asking me to play for those French bastards billeted in town, the answer is absolutely not.
It's a fait accompli, I'm afraid, my dear Ludwig. The invitations have been issued, the flowers have been ordered, and no cher camarade have already been informed that you will be performing.
The French are the enemies of our country, and I am not, as you seem to believe, your servant.
You have to play, I'm sorry.
No, I do not. There have been plenty of princes, Prince, but there's only one Beethoven. Ugh! And I was off. Walked the 5 miles back to the village, then hired a cart. 3 days later, I was back in Vienna. En route, filthy French. On the way, there was a terrible rainstorm. At the castle, I'd been working on the Appassionata Sonata, and it got a bit wet. But it survived.
That wasn't all he'd been working on.
Prince Lichnowsky.
The Fourth Symphony.
My 4th piano concerto. I used to treasure this.
The Razumovsky Quartets.
My violin concerto in D major.
And a few other bits and pieces.
Never mind. That's the way to deal with tyrants.
You do realise, Ludwig, that you've just lost a salary of 600 florins a year?
A quarter of my income. But it was worth it.
After the high, the inevitable low. The following September, a letter arrives.
My dear friend, Beethoven.
Surely I can call you that. I've been longing for news about your health. So tell me how you are. What are you doing?
My dear beloved and only Josephine. 1,000 voices are constantly whispering to me that you are the only one. So let us wander again down that path where we have often been so happy.
And the result of that was Josephine telling her servants that if Ludwig ever called, on no account should they let him into the house.
Right now, the maestro is staying with my mistress, Countess Erdode, at a place in the country. As usual, he makes straight for the garden. Only for 3 days we ain't seen hide nor hair of him. Not even at dinner time. Very out of character. Normally eats enough for a small orchestra. Probably sneaked off back to Vienna. My God, Herr Beethoven. You all right? Shall I fetch you something, sir? Some wine, perhaps?
No, water. And some bread, please. With a slice or two of beef. And perhaps some pickled cabbage. Ries! Oh, it's good to see you.
After 3 years spent trying to avoid conscription into the French army, Ferdinand Ries is back in Vienna.
You're still in one piece then?
More or less. Thank you for writing those letters.
Ah, it was nothing. No lesson today, eh? It's a beautiful afternoon. Let's go for a walk.
On the western fringes of Vienna, there are meadows and woods. A light breeze sets up a whispering in the branches. There's birdsong. Ries is really glad to be home.
So the French didn't get their claws into you then?
My eyesight's too poor. In the end, the army turned me down.
Excellent.
He told me that day about the music he remembered from his walks. The songs of the nightingale, the cuckoo and the quail. And how he was trying to get their notes into his 6th symphony. And about the band he'd heard in one of the villages, how the bassoonist fell asleep and then woke up with a big start, and how he wanted to get that sound into the music as well.
I've missed you, Ries. Since Lichnowsky's buggered off, there's been no one to get really angry with.
What about your servants?
They never stick around long enough for me to get my teeth into them.
They sit down on a log and drink in the sunshine. Isn't that lovely? Must be a shepherd. No, it's stopped now. It was nothing, just a pipe. Ries has often suspected, but now he knows. Back in the city, Herr Beethoven makes straight for his piano.
I'll play for you now.
Ries wants to weep. It's over 6 years now since Herr Beethoven's doctor advised him to spend a few months away from Vienna. Rest may improve your hearing. It didn't work. But this hasn't turned him against the village of Heiligenstadt. He still goes there in the summer.
That first time, I found lodgings on a quiet street, 2 rooms overlooking a courtyard. Through the window, I could see a plane tree, dotted with golden shoots when I arrived, soon filling my workroom with a pale green light. By the time I left, its leaves were falling.
When Ludwig dies, they'll find a letter among his papers.
4 carefully transcribed pages dated October 6th, 1802, written towards the end of his first day in Heiligenstadt. They're addressed to his brothers Karl and Johann.
One day they'll be known as the Heiligenstadt Testament.
For my brothers. I'm well aware that people think of me as rude, stubborn, reclusive. But they're quite wrong about me. Ever since I was a boy, I've been desperate to reach out to people, to love them. For 6 years now, this has been impossible. I have an affliction, and I'm terrified that it might be permanent. Those stupid doctors, they gave me hope. That made it all the harder to bear. There were no grounds for hope. I adore the company of friends, the swapping of ideas, the to and the fro. But now I'm forced to live my life alone, like an exile. Sometimes I try, but it's hopeless. How can I go up to people and say, shout, speak louder, for I am deaf? How can I admit to a weakness in the one sense which in me ought to be more perfect than all the others, which at one time was perfect? I can't do it. During the last 6 months here in the country, I've sometimes invited friends to come and visit me, only to be humiliated when someone standing right next to me could hear a sound, maybe a shepherd singing, and I couldn't hear anything. A little more of that, and I would have ended my life. It was only my art that stopped me. I couldn't leave this world without producing all I was capable of. And so I hung on to this wretched existence. Maybe I'll get better. Maybe I won't. I'm ready. If death comes soon, it will be a pity, but I shall meet it with gladness. After I'm dead, brothers, tell the world about my illness, so that after my death, people may forgive me. Ludwig van Beethoven.
Heiligenstadt, October the 10th.
Will I never feel joy again?
Ah, Ries, perhaps you can give me a hand.
Things are in a bit of a mess.
No, I meant with my letters. I want to persuade a few of the aristos to club together to pay me a salary.
Not Lichnowsky.
He scarcely speaks to me nowadays. No, I shall be awarding that honour to Lobkowitz and Kinski, and to Archduke Rudolph. He's a very cultivated young man. I'll threaten them a bit, and if I don't pay up, I shall leave Vienna and take up that Kapellmeister job in Kassel.
But that's ruled by one of Bonaparte's brothers.
What was that?
Kassel is ruled by Jérôme Bonaparte.
Yes, I know that. I'm not actually going to go there.
There are a lot of unopened letters here.
I know. I'm sorry. It's because I'm a genius. Actually, it's pretty well the only symptom of my genius.
This one's from your publisher. You want to make changes to the fifth?
Yes, I do. Da 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 da. I'm joking. But I'm not so much of a genius that I don't need to make a few corrections here and there.
This one is an invitation to Count Razumovsky's. Bills, more invitations.
Ries, I can't go to parties and you know that. How can I go up to people and say, speak up, shout, for I am deaf? I'm so far from reaching my goals.
Nonsense.
They're my goals, Ries. You were at the concert last week.
Yes, and the fifth is wonderful. Although I think the sixth is even better.
Yeah, so do I. But I'm talking about the piano concerto. I can't go on playing, not in public. I can't hear the notes anymore.
(1808) has been another very prolific year for Herr Beethoven, but as it comes to an end, he's feeling depressed.
The Austrian natives are starting to get a bit restless as well.
Austria's lost an awful lot of her provinces.
Her economy's shit, and now Boney's put a blockade on the import of British goods.
The Austrian emperor is worried he could be replaced by one of Napoleon's many relatives. So, in February 1809, the Austrians make a bold move. They sign a treaty with Britain, and then they invade Bavaria.
Right now, Boney's in Spain, putting down an uprising.
But within a week, he's at the Austrian border.
In Vienna, the streets are jammed with carriages.
There's a fleet on the Danube.
The knobs are fleeing the city again. Look, there's room in my coach.
No, thank you.
Come on, just pack your bags.
Think of your art.
No, thank you, no. I'm staying. I'm ready. I really am ready.
Now Boney's just outside the walls of Vienna.
Technically, he's been in control since the occupation of 1805, but now he really wants to teach them a lesson.
So he installs 20 howitzers on a hill just outside the walls.
In the city, people mill about in the streets making nervous jokes.
How many Frenchmen does it take to stick a candle in a candlestick?
None. If they wait long enough, they can bully an Austrian into doing it for them.
Can you hear a loud buzzing noise?
That's Napoleon! He's shelling the city!
You ought to take cover, mate.
Is it over?
All bother shouting. I think I'll get off home now.
Come on, mate. I'll walk you to your door.
Don't talk to any strange Frenchmen.
No chance of that, mate.
So Napoleon takes Vienna for a second time. And quite soon afterwards, inflation in Austria hits 1,000%.
People are starving.
Business is collapsing. Hundreds of men leave their shops and offices to look for some rope
Or a sharp knife.
or a bridge.
And then they kill themselves.
For all of this, great thanks, Your Imperial Majesty. But you are a great general. There's no doubt about it. Though totally incapable of holding a tune. Or that's what I've heard.
Old Ludwig must fancy somebody.
Really?
Didn't I used to have a looking glass?
Makes sense. Boney's getting married again. Not tonight Josephine's out the door.
Napoleon's new bride is Marie-Louise, the 18-year-old daughter of the Austrian emperor.
I am marrying a womb.
So Austria is Boney's father-in-law now. He better start behaving himself.
Go borrow a mirror for me, will you? And get me some new shirts and neckcloths.
Wonders will never cease.
Poor guy's got to keep up with Boney.
I need to find a wife.
Told you.
She must be musical and very beautiful.
Thérèse Malfatti, 17 years old, very pretty.
And musical.
But she's the daughter of a wealthy aristocrat.
Dearest Therese, this is for you. It's called Für Elise. I have written better things, thank God. Still, it might do the trick.
He's nearly 30 years older than me. It's pretty repulsive too. And he can't hear a word I say.
It's clear I'm not made for happiness. Doesn't matter. I can live without love.
Hello, I'm Bettina. I'm your new piano student.
Bettina Brentano is a truly delightful young thing.
My soul is a passionate dancer. A passionate dancer.
Through Bettina, Beethoven meets her sister-in-law, Antonia Brentano. She's cultured, tender-hearted, and unhappily married.
With 4 children.
Herr Beethoven visits the family frequently. Herr Brentano is often absent. He's a busy man. Frau Brentano suffers from headaches.
I'll just sit in the corner and play for you. Thank you.
By the end of 1811, Ludwig is obviously in love. What's more, the woman loves him, which makes a real change.
And he's working on 2 new symphonies, so things are definitely looking up. And then, in June 1812, Napoleon Bonaparte invades Russia.
8 days later, Ludwig van Beethoven packs up his bags and sets out on a little trip to Bohemia.
I'm on my way to Teplitz near Carlsbad. Hot springs, lakes, dense green forests. Just what I need. Maybe they'll hurt my hearing, or maybe not.
En route, he stays for a few nights in Prague. He scribbles a note to a friend who lives there.
I'm sorry I can't meet you this evening. Something unforeseen and very important has happened.
That's the evening of July the 3rd, 1812. Where on earth does he spend it?
When Herr Beethoven dies, a 3-part letter will be found amongst his papers, along with the Heiligenstadt testimony. It's in his handwriting. He may never have posted it.
Monday, July 6th, 1812, morning, my lodgings. My angel, my all, myself. Perhaps our love can only exist against a background of sacrifice. We have to accept that we can never be completely together. But we'll see each other soon, maybe even today. I've so much to tell you. July 6th, evening. Dearest, we have to live together. Can you arrange it? Wouldn't it be wonderful? Good night now. I've an early start tomorrow, so I'd better go to bed. Oh, come with me! God, so near, so far. July 7th. Good morning. I'm still in bed, and straight away my thoughts rush to embrace you, my immortal beloved. Joy 1 minute, sadness the next. I want to live wholly with you, or not at all, so I have decided we must stay apart, till I can call myself entirely yours. It has to be this way. I shall always be faithful to you. Oh, God, why do we have to separate? My life is so wretched. No, I need order and stability if I'm to carry on composing. Do I have these? My angel, try to be patient. Don't stop loving me. Never doubt the faithful heart of your beloved Elle. Forever yours, forever mine, forever us.
She's a married woman, that's obvious.
Bettina? Well, surely not. She only got married last year, and she's just had her first child.
What about Antonia, the wretched wife? She and her family have just arrived in Carlsbad. It's close. And on the way there, they stayed in Prague. Ludwig is terribly fond of her.
He's terribly fond of her husband too, and their 4 children. He just wouldn't do it.
Antonia's 2 months pregnant.
For the first time in 7 years.
Josephine! Got to be! What do you think?
Angel? Beloved, eh? We know how besotted he was with her. It's been a long time.
But she seems to be visiting Prague this month as well. Let's face it, man. We just don't know.
Probably doesn't matter.
It mattered to me. By September 1812, I'm paying a visit to my brother in Linz, while Napoleon Bonaparte is marching into Moscow. He finds it almost empty. Then the fires break out. There are no pumps, no hoses. In a couple of days, the blaze spreads right through the city. Bonaparte has reached the end of the road. Moscow is a pile of ashes. The heat is intense, unbearable. There's hardly any food. In October, the long retreat from Russia begins. Napoleon's rule in Europe is coming to an end. And by December, I'm back in Vienna finishing my 10th violin sonata.
"12 years later, Ferdinand Ries is living in England. He's a hard-working member of the Philharmonic Society.
From Ries in England. No money in it. Fundsvik Fund. That's what they're paying me for this new symphony. 50. It must work out to about 3 francs a day. Ein Hemd. Ein indischer Hemd. Sehen Sie?
Ries? Herr Ries! I knew I'd run into you one day. George Bridgetower? How are you?
Very well, thank you. And you?
Oh, thriving. Not as much as you, though. A famous composer. I play here sometimes. I'm in a string quartet.
Yes, I know.
Of course, you're one of the directors.
And I have been to some of your concerts.
Really? You should have... Well, I expect you're a busy man. I compose a bit myself, actually. When I was doing my degree in Cambridge.
Yes, of course. Did you have a good teacher?
Oh, yes. Not like you, though. Not like Beethoven. Do you still hear from him?
Yes, indeed. In fact, we were hoping that he would come to London to conduct his new symphony, but now I think he will not. We commissioned it, the Philharmonic Society. Did you hear this? It will have singing.
Singing? Are you serious? But music doesn't need words. Whose words are they? Not Schiller. Ludwig, you're a star! You did it, man!
It has taken a long time. He began it all quite soon after we heard the news of Bonaparte's death.
Much longer ago than that in his head. How's his...
Not good, I fear. But he seems to be in good spirits.
I'm glad.
When I next write, I will tell Herr Beethoven that I have met you.
He won't remember me.
On the contrary, I am certain that he will.
He won't remember my name, that's for sure.
No, you are quite wrong, Mr. Towerbridge. Herr Beethoven, could you hear it? Oh, for the love of God.
No, of course I couldn't hear it. I shall never hear it. Only in my head. Come, let's not waste any more time.
Cut!
I have sacrificed everything which people call life to my art, to the sublime. Oh, the ecstasy of woodland. My wretched hearing becomes insignificant. The only things that matter are the trees, the rocks, and the mountains. They send back an echo of everything that man desires. The music that can lead us into joy.